Hello and welcome to another Magic the Gathering video. This is the second of 5 unboxings of the new Commander 2013 product. This one is the Mind Seize deck, the one with the blue sides on it. The colour combination for this, again, they're all, as I said in the unboxing for Evasive Maneuvers, which was the previous deck I unboxed. These are all 3 colour decks, and these are based on shards. And if you want to learn a little bit more about shards and wedges within the Magic colour pie, then watch that Evasive Maneuvers deck, because I go into a bit of detail up front about that. This particular deck is blue, black, red. So the particular shard that references is Grixis, basically. So black's the primary and blue and red are the secondary colours if you're referencing that back to Grixis. So let's open this up, have a look at the deck. So as these are Commander decks, there's 100 cards in this deck. You also get 3 oversized cards, one for your, what I would call your sort of main commander, and then there are 2 others as well, which are, there's 2 other legendary creatures in the deck that they choose to create oversized cards for, although in these decks there's often more than just 3 legendary creatures in the deck. So there's the 2 others that you can also swap out if you choose to, and not surprisingly they are also 3 colours. So we've got Jeleva, Nephalia's Scourge. We have Thraxamundar and Nemesis, the Mind Razor. So when we come to look at the cards themselves, I'll go through the abilities on that. There's our Commander deck and our inserts. So we've also got quite a nice box to put our deck in. Our how to play guide. So I'm going to have a quick look at the actual deck. As I pointed out in the previous video, obviously you get the deck list here. What you don't get, like you do with some of the Magic product, say for instance, I think the dual decks, is it doesn't tell you where some of these come from. Some of these are reprints, some of these are, first appear in Commander. So there's the deck itself. On the flip side, there's a little bit of an explanation about the sort of main protagonist in here, and also in addition more background story to the decks. And then there's a little bit here about playing the deck. So making a point, the fact that Jeleva strips spells from the libraries of every player in the game, including yours. So your own deck is chock full of game-changing instants and sorceries. Hitting the best sorcery in your opponent's deck and beating him or her with it is quite the power trip too, but your own deck provides a consistency and a wide array of helpful tools, from card drawing to targeted removal to board clearing sweepers. So it's basically saying when Jeleva isn't around to lead the charge, your toolbox of high impact spells and card drawing can allow you to control the battlefield while deviously assembling your plan for the end game. First line of defense is most important. Spend your removal spells early and fill the battlefield with deadly defensive creatures to communicate clearly and brutally, if necessary, that you are not a sitting duck. Then, while your opponents pass their time battling in other more predictable parts of the battlefield, use your card drawing to strengthen your defences and dig for your own game-winning tools. So let's take a look at the of the deck. Okay. So here is Jeleva, Nephalia's Scourge. 1 blue, black, red for a 1/3 legendary creature, vampire, wizard. Rarity here is mythic. Has flying. When Jeleva and Nephalia's Scourge enters the battlefield, each player exiles the top X cards of his or her library, where X is the amount of mana spent to cast Jeleva. When Jeleva attacks, you may cast an instant or a sorcery card exiled with it without paying its mana cost. Augur of Bolas, Fogbank, Nightscape Familiar, Baleful Strix, Nivix Guildmage, Guard Gomazoa, Gutter Snipe, Echo Mage. So as with the other deck, it looks like we've got some level up creatures here. Jace's Archivist. Let's just do that one actually. Let's try not to skip over the rares here. So I'll go through all the rares in here. 1 and 2 blue. So you can level up for 1 and a blue. So when you play this card, it's a 2/3. You can then choose to pay a level up cost at some point. Can only be played as a sorcery. There's obviously only certain times that can be played. And as you level it up, and obviously you would want to use a level counter on this to do that, its power and toughness changes and it gains abilities. So when it's a level 2 or 3, it's a 2/4 with, for 2 blue, tap, copy target instant or sorcery spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. If you get to 4 or more on your level counter, then it becomes a 2/5. And for 2 blue, you can tap, copy target instant or sorcery spell twice. You may choose new targets for the copies. And Jace's Archivist is also a rare. Oops, these are very slippery. 1 colourless and 2 blue. Creature Vodalcan Wizard, 2/2. For blue, you can tap, and each player discards his or her hand, then draws cards equal to the greatest number of cards a player discarded this way. True Name Nemesis, another rare. 1 and 2 blue for a 3/1. As True Name Nemesis enters the battlefield, choose a player. True Name Nemesis is protection from the chosen player. This creature can't be blocked, targeted, dealt damage, or enchanted by anything controlled by that player. Vampire Nighthawk is in the deck. Viseling, that is. Terror Ravager, Diviner Spirit, Mnemonic Wall, Hooded Horror, Nakusa the Mind Razor, so another mythic legendary creature. It's a zombie wizard. 2 colourless, blue, black, red for a 2/4 with the following abilities. At the beginning of each player's draw step, that player draws an additional card. Whenever an opponent draws a card, Nakusa the Mind Razor deals 1 damage to that player. Charmbreaker Devils, also a rare. 5 and a red for a 4/4. At the beginning of your upkeep, return an instant or sorcery card at random from your graveyard to your hand. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, Charmbreaker Devils gets +4/+0 until end of turn. Uo Silent Prophet, legendary creature, Moonfolk Wizard, for 4 colourless, 2 blue, get a 4/4 with flying, and an ability where if you play 2 colourless, return 2 lands you control to their owner's hand. Copy target instant or sorcery spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. So you can see a sort of copying of of instance and sorceries theme going on here. Thraximunda, 4 colourless, blue, black, red for a 6/6. It's got haste. It's a legendary creature, zombie assassin, another mythic. Whenever Thraximunda attacks, defending player sacrifices a creature. Whenever a player sacrifices a creature, you may put a 1/1 counter on Thraximunda. Baleful Force, another rare, 5 and 3 black for a 7/7 creature elemental. At the beginning of each upkeep, you draw a card and you lose 1 life. Soul Ring is in here. I think Soul Ring's probably in all the decks. Wayfarer's Bauble. I can never say this one. Armillary Sphere. Swiftfoot Boots. Obelisk of Grixis. So we've got some fixing here for blue, black or red through this artifact. Temple Bell. You tap it, each player draws a card. 3 colourless to cast. Eye of Doom, 4 colourless to cast. It's an artifact. When Eye of Doom enters the battlefield, each player chooses a non-land permanent and puts a Doom counter on it. 2 colourless tap, sacrifice Eye of Doom. Destroy each permanent with a Doom counter on it. Mirari, legendary artifact, 5 colourless. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you may pay 3 colourless. If you do, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. Curse of Inertia, Propaganda, Curse of Shallow Graves, Curse of Chaos, a lot of curses again. Spiteful Visions, another rare, 2 and 2 black red hybrid mana. At the beginning of each player's draw step, that player draws an additional card. Whenever a player draws a card, Spiteful Visions deals 1 damage to that player. Arcane Melee, 4 and a blue, instant and sorcery spells cost 2 less to cast. Price of Knowledge, 6 and a black for an enchantment. Players have no maximum hand size. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, Price of Knowledge deals damage to that player equal to the number of cards in that player's hand. Vision Skins, instant player, each player draws 2 cards. Soul Manipulation, so we've got a lot of card draw obviously in here. Crixies Charm, Grixis Charm, Sudden Spoiling, 1 colourless, 2 black for an instant with split second on it. So with split second, as long as this spell is on the stack, players can't cast spells or activated abilities that aren't mana abilities. Creatures target player controls become 0/2 and lose all abilities until end of turn. Dismiss. Illusionist Gambit, another rare, 2 and 2 blue, instant. Cast Illusionist Gambit only during the declare blocker's step on an opponent's turn. Remove all attacking creatures from combat and untap them. After this phase, there is an additional combat phase. Each of those creatures attacks that combat if able. They can't attack you or a planeswalker you control that combat. Wild Ricochet, another rare, 2 colourless, 2 red, instant. You may choose new targets for target instant or sorcery spell, then copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. Annihilate, Opportunity, Starstorm, X 2 red, instant. Starstorm deals X damage to each creature. It's also got cycling for 3 on it, so for 3 colourless you can discard the card and draw a card. Strategic Planning, Infest, Tempt with Reflections, 3 and a blue, sorcery. It's got Tempting Offer on it, so choose target creature you control, put a token onto the battlefield that's a copy of that creature. Each opponent may put a token onto the battlefield that's a copy of that creature. For each opponent who does put a token onto the battlefield, that's a... Hang on. Let me read that again. Choose target creature you control. Put a token onto the battlefield that's a copy of that creature. Each opponent may put a token onto the battlefield that's a copy of that creature. For each opponent who does, put a token onto the battlefield that's a copy of the creature. Okay, now I get it. Fissure Vent. Incendiary Command. Another rare. 3/2 red. Sorcery. Choose 2. Incendiary Command deals 4 damage to target player, or Incendiary Command deals 2 damage to each creature or destroy target non-basic land, or each player discards all the cards in his or her hand, then draws that many cards. Thesis, I think that might be. Cruel Ultimatum. So 2 blue, 3 black and 2 red. For sorcery, target opponent sacrifices a creature, discards 3 cards and then loses 5 life. You return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand, draw 3 cards, then gain 5 life. Decree of Pain, another rare. 6 and 2 black. Sorcery, destroy all creatures. They can't be regenerated. Draw a card for each creature destroyed this way. And it's also got cycling on it. A fairly high cycling cost on here. 3 and 2 black to discard the card and draw a card. But when you cycle Decree of Pain, all creatures get -2/-2 until end of turn, which is why there's such a high cycling cost. Army of the Damned, mythic, 5, 3 black, sorcery. Put 13 2/2 black zombie creature tokens on the battlefield tapped. It's also got flashback for 7 and 3 black, so you may cast this card from your graveyard for its flashback cost, then exile it. Prosperity. Skyscribing, Molten Disaster, X2 red, sorcery with a kicker cost of 1 red. So you can pay an additional red as you cast the spell. If Molten Disaster was kicked, it has split second. So you saw this one before, but with split second, as long as the spell's on the stack, players can't cast spells or activate abilities that aren't mana abilities. Molten Disaster deals X damage to each creature without flying and each player. So we're moving on to some non-basic lands now. We've got Arcum Refuge, so that's going to generate black or red mana. Gives us 1 life, but it does come into the battlefield tapped. Bajuka Bog, into the battlefield tapped. So this has got a utility on it in that when it enters the battlefield, exile all creatures from target player's graveyard, and it also does tap for black mana, but as I said, it comes into the battlefield tapped. Command Tower. This adds 1 mana of any colour in your commander's colour identity to your mana pool. Crumbling Necropolis, another one that enters the battlefield tapped, but you can tap it for blue, black or red, so it's going to fix all the colours. Dimir Guildgate, another enters the battlefield tapped, that fixes for blue or black. Evolving Wilds, you can search out basic land cards. Crixies Panorama adds 1 colour to your mana pool, but you can use it to search out for 1. You can 1 colour to tap it, sacrifice it, search for a island, swamp, or mountain, and put it into the battlefield tapped. Is it Boiler Works? Blue-red. This taps for, but it does bounce a land when it enters the battlefield, and also comes into play tapped. Is it Guildgate? So Is it Guildgate, it's blue or red and enters the battlefield tapped. Molten Slag Heap, tap it, add 1 to your mana pool, 1 and tap, put a storage counter on mana, Molten Slag Heap. 1 colourless, remove X storage counters from Molten Slag Heap, add X mana in any combination of black and or red to your mana pool. So that's like a sort of storage land. Opal Palace. So tap it, add 1 to your mana pool, and 1 tap, add to your mana pool 1 mana of any colour in your commander's colour identity. If you spend this mana to cast your commander, it enters the battlefield with a number of 1/1 counters on it, equal to the number of times it's been cast from the command zone this game. Rakdos Carnarium, taps for black and red. Again, it's bounce land, so it bounces the land back and enters the build tapped. Rakdos Guildgate, enters the battlefield tapped, black or red. Rupture Spire, another enters the battlefield tapped. However, you have to sacrifice it unless you pay 1 colourless, but it can generate 1 mana of any colour. Temple of the False God. Add 2 to your mana pool, so that's 2 colourless. Activate this ability only if you have control of 5 or more lands. We've got Urza's Factory in here. Add 1 to your mana pool. 7 tap, put a 2/2 colourless assembly worker artifact creature token onto the battlefield. Vivid Creek, taps for blue mana, comes in with 2 charge counters on it and tapped. And you can tap it and remove a charge counter from it, and that will add 1 mana of any colour to your mana pool. Vivid Marsh, same thing in black. And then we move on to our islands. So this is now our actual basic lands in here. So quite a few islands in here. And then our swamps. And finally the mountains. Should just counted them up so we can get some idea of the breakdown. So there we have the deck. So we're talking about that. So yeah, it's 9 islands, 8 swamps and 5 mountains in terms of basic lands. So there we have the Mind Seas deck, the blue, black, red deck from the new Commander product 2013. So that's going to be the Grixis colours. Thanks for watching.